If you recently lost your job and your health coverage due to the COVID-19 pandemic and you think you may be eligible for Medicare, you probably have more questions than answers right now. Statewide Insurers Group, All Things Medicare, can help you with that. We can provide the guidance and the answers that you need to get the benefits you may be eligible for. Don't let this time of uncertainty jeopardize your eligibility for your Medicare benefits. Remember, relationships matter. Call Statewide Insurers Group today for the answers that you need now. 316-8166.
Being prepared and trained is the best way to keep your family safe. The best way to be prepared is to learn from those who've spent a lifetime protecting us. Barnes Safety and Consulting LLC offers concealed carry classes with instructors who are law enforcement officers active and retired with more than 100 years of law enforcement experience. Monthly classes are taught year-round with private classes and special group rates available. Classes are $75 and held in the Bailey area. Call or text 1-800-653-0643. Get your concealed carry permit and avoid becoming a victim.
And welcome back. Welcome to the K-Files. We have first of all, a new sponsor of the K-Files this morning. We have Barnes Safety and Concealed Carry. He teaches concealed carry classes in Bailey. I would encourage you to get your concealed carry. But anyway, thank you so much.
He's a retired state trooper.
He is.
I've known him about 5 years. He's a great guy.
Right.
So.
Really is. So we want to thank him for sponsorship. But this morning we have a guest.
Yes, we're doing something. I think this is the first time we've ever done this. We start the show with a guest right off the bat.
Yep, that's right. That's because Hope is so important.
That's right.
This is Hope Connie. She's an attorney.
She is a local lawyer who's got to go to court here in a minute. So we wanted to get her on and tap her brain and let her go. Do what she does. So
I appreciate that. Thank you for having me.
Sure, Hope. I mean, just say a little bit about yourself and how we got here, and then we'll ask you some great questions.
Okay. My name's Hope Connie. I was born and raised here in Nash County. Went to college at Wesleyan, the campus that we're on.
Yay!
Yes.
They're going to hire me to teach here pretty soon.
Loved it. Great experience. I'm a big supporter. Went to law school at Emory in Atlanta. Practiced as an assistant DA in Georgia for a few years. Came back to North Carolina, did various types of law, insurance defense, and contract law and hospital law. Anyway, I ended up back in Nash County, obviously. Came back home. And for about 7 years now, I have been a district court lawyer. So my primary job is in the district. What I do mostly is family law, DSS court, juvenile defense, and as of January 1st of this year, I was very honored to receive the contract for the guardian ad litem attorney.
Oh, wow. Congratulations, Hope.
Thank you so much. And that was a job vacated when Judge Solomon was elected.
It's a very important job. I've seen a lot of kids come through the court system, and they need that representation.
Well, I think so too, and I'm very, very happy to have it and honored to have it. And in addition to that, I have 3 children, and I Of course, I'm involved in the church here, my Rise Church, and I work on the Team Cold Case with you two and other members of the communities, Edgecombe County, Nash County, and Rocky Mount. And of course, Lieutenant Jeff Sherrod of the Nash County Sheriff's Department asked me last summer if I would work on this committee and assist with the Team Cold Case Committee being formed in order to give legal counsel and advice, to serve on the board, with the goal being to try to raise some money and pay informants and folks who had knowledge of crimes, specifically cold cases, unsolved crimes.
And I think it's fair to say we'd have been lost without you.
Yeah, gotta have the attorney, believe me.
Well, thank you so much, and I'll give some credit to Rick Hamlet too, a local lawyer. He helped a lot.
Oh yeah.
He helped a lot with forming it. So anyway, that's why I'm here today.
Fantastic. This came about because Sandra, she brings up legal questions all the time, and I've been covering court cases for 20 years.
Yes.
So I kind of know, but at the same time, I'm a layman, So I sort of know these things, but I don't know them.
Yes.
So we thought, let's get a lawyer, and then we couldn't think of anybody better than you.
Well, thank you.
So here you are, and I think the thing that comes up the most in our discussions is like the difference between first degree and second degree murder.
Yes, I'm very interested in that.
I think a lot of people don't, they don't really understand, and every state is different, right?
That's right.
So North Carolina has its own definitions of that. So we were hoping we could start with that, and you could just kind of tell people, you get arrested. Why? Do you get charged with first degree or second degree murder?
People wonder, why did they get second degree murder? Why did they get first degree murder? So tell us.
Okay, well, yes, to start off, yes, you're right. Every state's different, and the federal laws are different than the state laws. Sometimes they intermingle, sometimes they're similar. So North Carolina, every state has a specific law. So in North Carolina, it's called murder in the first degree, which you would call first degree murder, under the homicide statutes, which is Article 6. Murder in the first degree is when a person kills another living human being with malice and specific intent.
It's kind of hard to kill someone who's not a living human being. That's some great legalese for you there.
Well, it actually has come up, I think, in a case years ago, because a person was dead, but the person did something they didn't know they were dead.
Right.
So was that murder because they intended to kill them, and maybe the person.
Interesting.
Yeah, so he has to be a living human being with a specific intent to kill, and this is the important part, formed after premeditation and deliberation, by poisoning, lying in wait, imprisonment, starvation, or torture. Okay? Or while committing or attempting to commit certain felonies. This is called the felony murder rule. Rape, sexual offenses, certain ones, burglaries, robberies, kidnappings. There are other deadly weapon offenses.
That's the fascinating one where you and your buddy go rob a bank and your buddy gets killed by the police and you can get charged with murder.
And the commission of a felony.
Right. Awesome. Okay.
Absolutely. Or it could be by means of a nuclear, biological, or chemical weapon, just for technical purposes. That's first degree murder. It's a Class A felony. If you're convicted of first degree murder, it's death or life without the possibility of parole. Right. That's what it is. It's a capital offense.
Yeah, right. In North Carolina, there's only two punishments for first degree murder, right? You can go to prison for life, or you get on death row for life.
Life without the possibility of parole. Correct. Right. Unless you are under the age of 18 when you commit it, and then it can be life without or with the possibility of parole.
Gotcha.
So, yeah, and so second degree murder, and these are very vague. This isn't a clear-cut thing, but the main difference is second degree murder is killing of a living human being with malice, but not with premeditation or deliberation.
Right. So premeditation is a big word, and the differences of the two.
And specific intent. Yes. And specific intent leads to another question I know Lyndall's going to ask me because we've talked about it already, in that why is there an attempted first degree murder but not an attempted second degree murder in North Carolina? And the reason is because in the year 2000, the North Carolina Supreme Court, in the case of State versus Coble, they determined that it was a, quote, logical impossibility to have attempted second degree murder because attempt requires specific intent. And by definition, second degree murder can't require specific intent.
Right.
Right, so either you killed him or you didn't.
Right.
In second-degree murder.
Right. Either you, well, they have to prove malice, but you don't.
And so what may have used to be or could have been second-degree murder rolls back to what people call alphabet. Right, it's the assault with what is it? Assault with the deadly weapon
Assault
with intent to kill.
It could be that.
Inflicting serious injury or whatever. I mean, it's a pretty serious felony, but it's not.
Yes, it is a very serious felony. There are also, and so it could be that, there are different other homicide-related crimes,
Right.
voluntary manslaughter, involuntary manslaughter, vehicular manslaughter. We have the fetal death law, now, where a baby's considered a living being. So lots of things. It's not as clear cut as first and second degree murder anymore. And of course, the manslaughter crimes are lower class felonies, but still felonies, and they still carry prison time if they could. They could.
Right.
Something else that comes up a lot. People ask me about premeditation. And deliberation there's no set time period either, right? You can premeditate in a minute. I mean, you don't have to have this long, drawn out plan on paper where you're going to murder someone. I mean, you can premeditate in a brief, short of time, right?
Well, it's fact specific to the case, and I'm not trying to be lawyerly to say that, but truly, you have to look at all the facts and evidence of the case
I covered one time where a guy was in prison for like 20 years.
Right.
He gets out. He's at home for one day. His wife, who he'd been married to for 30 years, drives him so nuts in that one day out of prison that he kills her. And the district attorney at the time, he was assistant district attorney at the time, Ernie Lee, down in Unsolved County. He was able to prove to the satisfaction of the jury in the court that he stabbed his wife, and that was second degree murder.
Right.
But then the knife, he stabbed her 2 or 3 times, the knife broke. Then he went back in the kitchen and got another knife and came back and finished the job, and that became first degree murder because he planned. After that point, he was planning it. He was deliberating it.
Right.
So I mean, it's
He had a cooling off period,
Exactly.
so to speak.
Right.
and went right back at it.
Now, what about turning state's evidence? Can that lower your sentence from first to second if you decide to, squeal?
I mean, and I don't work for the district attorney's office. I don't want to speak for them, but
you have been a prosecutor.
I have been a prosecutor in another state, but yes, I was
prosecutors make great defense attorneys.
Thank you. Well, in Georgia, I was, yes, but I was a prosecutor for felony crimes many years ago. And yes, certainly, I mean, a bargaining chip will let you plead to a lower class or a different crime with a lower possible sentence, in exchange for information about that crime or other crimes. I mean, I don't know what the policy is of our district attorney's office, but I know that we did that where I worked. In cooperation with law enforcement, just like we do on Team Cold Case, and just like I think our district attorney's office does here. And we all on our team, and I can't again speak for them, but I know that when I was a prosecutor, the goal, of course, was and always is to hold someone accountable for these crimes and the right person or persons.
Gotcha. Okay, so another question that I've come across, and hopefully this will begin to come into play here with the unsolved murders that we have, and that is, okay, so in North Carolina right now, as it is now, there's no bond for first degree murder, right? If you're charged with first degree murder, you typically aren't going to get a bond.
Right. Under the bond recommendations, there's no bond recommended.
But then if you're arrested for, let's say you killed somebody in 1970, and you finally get arrested for that, tell us what that situation is.
Well, when I saw your question earlier, I thought that was an interesting one because as any trial lawyer knows, and you two probably know as well, and any law enforcement official knows, when you're in court, whatever happens is always up to the judge. It is always up to the judge.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, the judge makes the final decision. And so my answer to that would be, my opinion would be no, you do not get the benefit of a bond that you would have had you been caught in 1970. They look at, it's always in the discretion of what we would call the presiding judicial official judge, based on the facts alleged, the circumstances known at the time of the bond hearing, also known here as a pretrial release hearing. And that's what actually they call it in our statutes. Of course, they always have to comply with the statutory timelines and requirements. But you're right, there's no bond recommendation, but a judge can always do what a judge feels like is the appropriate thing to do, put conditions on them.
Judges do what they want to do.
Well, they do, and I will say in our district, and it's the honest to God truth, our judges are all very good, and they all, try to do the right thing, I believe, at all times. Whether they rule with me or not,
There are some good judges in this district. I remember down in Pender County one time, a woman came to see the trial of her son was a victim of a murder, and she came to the trial, and she brought her grandmother with her, I think. So this woman's like 105, and she can't hear nothing, and she keeps asking what's going on, and the judge has the bailiff warn this lady 2 or 3 times to be quiet, and she keeps just blasting out, and finally the judge had her locked up for contempt. And it's just, a 105-year-old woman comes here from Virginia to see her grandson's murder trial and gets locked up because he didn't. I won't mention who that judge is,
but not one of our judges.
No, he was for whatever circuit, whatever.
Right.
Whatever Pender County.
Pender County is, yes. So, I do not know. I have not worked there.
Yeah.
So.
Out of our area for sure.
Yes, out of our area. And so the judge always has the authority. I mean, there's sort of a trend I think now toward putting a lot of conditions on pretrial release and bond, as opposed to high monetary. I mean, we still have high monetary bonds, and of course we have no bond cases, but cases with no bond. Now, one notable thing is in North Carolina, the Chief Superior Court judge has the authority to delegate bond setting for first-degree murder to magistrates, but we do not do that in this district. You can in some districts, not in our district.
That's interesting.
So.
Oh, wait a minute, let me back up on that, because that's unfamiliar to me. So you're saying that if you're charged with
first-degree
murder, then a judge has to set the bond. Okay.
Correct.
Now, I want to talk a little bit about what constitutes rape.
Okay. Well, North Carolina, there are many different sexual assault laws, which is what we call them. So there's first-degree forcible rape, and I don't think we have time for me to go through all of them, but there's first-degree forcible rape, second-degree forcible rape, and with the first degree, it is, and I'm not making a lot of this in any way, like you would see on a TV show or what you think of when you think the term rape. Intercourse with another person without their permission, where you cause serious injury to the person, use a deadly weapon or dangerous weapon against the person, commit it with other people involved, which is a gang rape, versus second degree, and that's a Class B1 felony, which is 144 months to life if you're convicted. Second degree forcible rape is intercourse with another person by force and against their will, and a person with a mental disability or mental incompetency. That's basically the difference between those two. Because someone incompetent can't consent even if the defendant says they consent. They're not capable. That's a Class C felony, which is a little bit lower, but still a good amount of time if you're sentenced. And unlike with murder, there can be attempted first or second degree rape.
Wow. Okay.
Under State versus Baker, which is under the law, but a 2017 case of the Supreme Court from North Carolina came out, clarifying that because attempt to commit a crime, the elements include, specific intent to perform the overt act, which goes beyond mere preparation but falls short of the act. So, just a little legal.
But not for murder, though.
Not for second degree murder.
Yeah. Wow.
Yes,
okay.
But for first degree murder. Yeah, it's a very, very,
Okay, and then
technical.
And then you almost got off the hook because the door opened.
For which one?
Rape and sex offense. Right. So I'm going to ask the question, and you can say yes or no. You just say yes.
Okay.
So rape is the result of vaginal intercourse.
Yes.
Or penetration, right?
Forcible and with the other elements. Yes.
And then sex offense is the result of anal penetration.
Correct.
So superseding all the political situations that we find ourselves in today, a man can be a victim of sexual offense, but he can't be a victim of rape. Is that correct?
Correct, but it's the same sentence. The same. I mean, the penalty. It's not a lesser sentence to have sexual
right,
offense.
so it's
So the
same.
sentence is the same.
Well,
Okay.
the degree of felony
For the-
is the
right.
same.
So the
It's a big-
legislature,
Okay.
the legislature could do us all a favor then and just streamline and just combine those crimes into one crime, right?
Well, it would make sense to me, but I don't know if there's a reason they separated them. I really don't know, and I truly don't want to answer because I don't know. But I think it would make sense. I know that a detective and I talked about
Because
this
it's the same
before.
punishment, right? I mean,
Yes, it'd be one felony for a first degree and a C felony for second degree, whichever.
Right.
And just as a side note, there are other B1 sexual assault crimes like rape of a child. Statutory rape if it is first degree, which means the victim is 13, 14, or 15, and the defendant is more than 6 years older. So there's some other things that are equally serious that aren't necessarily
Right.
forcible rape.
Right.
And there's some other Class C sexual assaults. There are lots of different crimes of the sexual assault spectrum, for lack of a better word.
Wow.
awesome.
We're going to have Hope back on again. I mean,
Yeah,
this was
really.
really good stuff to me. We've really learned something this morning because I keep asking the question, why does this one get first degree, why does it get second degree? So you've really clarified some things this morning, and including the rape thing. So thank you, Hope.
You're welcome.
Thank you for
Thank you
coming.
for having
We
me
have to
on.
let her get to court, or we might be in trouble.
I might be in trouble. Thank you.
Thank you,
Enjoyed
Hope,
it.
and we'll be right back with you, Lyndall. You got anything else to say before we go to break?
No? Am I supposed to? Was there something
No,
else?
I just didn't know if you, in concluding,
No, I'm good. Look, she's already packed up and ready to go. She's
we have to let her get to court. Okay, we'll be
you.
right back, folks. We have another guest coming up.
If you recently lost your job and your health coverage due to the COVID-19 pandemic, and you think you may be eligible for Medicare, you probably have more questions than answers right now. Statewide Insurers Group, All Things Medicare, can help you with that. We can provide the guidance and the answers that you need to get the benefits you may be eligible for. Don't let this time of uncertainty jeopardize your eligibility for your Medicare benefits. Remember, relationships matter. Call Statewide Insurers Group today for the answers that you need now. 316-8166.
Being prepared and trained is the best way to keep your family safe. The best way to be prepared is to learn from those who've spent a lifetime protecting us. Barnes Safety and Consulting LLC offers concealed carry classes with instructors who are law enforcement officers active and retired with more than 100 years of law enforcement experience. Monthly classes are taught year-round with private classes and special group rates available. Classes are $75 and held in the Bailey area. Call or text 1-800-653-0643. Get your concealed carry permit and avoid becoming a victim.
Welcome back, folks. This is the K-Files. Sandra is taking a powder. She's sitting over there bragging about how she ran Bob Etheridge through the work. Woo! That will probably not make the YouTube video. This is Sergeant Tinder. He's kind enough. This your second or third time?
Second time, sir.
Second time. What I liked about him was you jumped on early. You were here back in like June when we didn't even really know what we were doing yet. Not that we know what we're doing now, but I'm saying we really didn't know what we were doing back in June.
Yes, sir.
And you were willing to come on the show, and I appreciate that. And
Yes,
we
sir.
talked about I never can pronounce his name right, but the gentleman who disappeared and
Stephen Matt Gray.
yeah, there you go. I knew you'd know. He disappeared last January, right?
Yes, sir. It's
And
been a year,
it's-
13 months now.
It's been a year, and his daughter was arrested for using his funds after he disappeared. Is
Yes,
that
sir.
correct?
Yes, sir.
And then we're continuing to investigate that one.
Yes, sir. It's still an open investigation, and any leads would be greatly
Absolutely.
appreciated.
The hotline's at the bottom of the screen, folks. We're going to talk about what you're here today is to talk about another case that just happened recently, right?
Yes, sir. January 11th.
January 11th. So this gentleman here was shot dead. Is that right?
Yes, sir. Stoshua Lynch.
Okay. Tell us about Mr. Lynch.
Mr. Lynch and his girlfriend were driving down the road. They were coming down Fairview Road and Rocky Mount, which was on the Edgecombe County side. They got to the intersection of Fairview Road and Cokie Road. Somebody from behind shot into the vehicle, striking Mr. Lynch, which caused his death. His girlfriend was also hit. The vehicle ended up in the ditch, and where that area is that's why I'm on the show trying to get some help, information. If anybody was in that area, that's a well-traveled area. It was around 9:55 to around 10:05.
We've got a picture y'all took, a crime scene photo y'all took of that's where the crime happened, right?
Yes, sir. Right there at that intersection, right at the stop sign.
And that is not, I thought that was in the city limits, but I guess not.
That is 790 feet, 800 feet from the city limit sign.
Oh, wow.
It's just out in the county.
I got you. Okay, so him and his girlfriend, who's driving? He's driving?
Stasha was driving.
He's driving, and tell me again exactly, slow down and tell me again exactly what happened. Somebody come up from behind?
Somebody came up from behind him, shot into the vehicle, striking him, and it also struck his girlfriend.
And how, she's okay?
She's okay. She's out of the hospital. She's fine.
And so y'all are seeking any type of leads?
Yes, sir. Any information we can receive would be grateful to us. We've been working this. January 11th is when it happened, around 10:05 in the evening, and we've been working on it every day ever since.
Wow. So was he was dead at the scene, or he went to the hospital?
Yes, he was deceased on the scene.
Wow. I know there's a lot of stuff you're not going to tell us, and that's, I really respect that. But is there any indication a type of weapon? Are we talking a pistol, a rifle?
It was a rifle.
Okay. Wow. Okay. So somebody. Well, I don't know that. Let me ask that. Did it look like he was the intended victim, or was it a random victim, or we just don't know yet?
We are unable to determine that at this time. We don't know if it was random or if he was the intended target. We're not sure yet.
Wow. Okay, so he lived here in Rocky Mount, or do you know?
Yes, sir, he did.
He's a long time, like a native?
I think he's a longtime resident of Nash County.
Gotcha. Okay, so tell me that area again, because I've been here 6 years, and I've got to know a lot of places, but I'm not familiar with everywhere. So what part of the not in the city is that area?
It's the West Edgecombe area, Fairview and Cokie Road. If you're coming down Fairview Road, it's where the Edgecombe County DSS building is. If you're coming out of Rocky Mount, you'll drive past the DSS building, will be on your left. You'll cross over the railroad tracks. About 3 to 4/10 of a mile is a stop sign.
Right.
Where you can turn left to go to Pine Tops on 43, or you can turn right to go back into the city limits on Cokie Road.
And Fairview Road's where the Pizza Hut, the Dollar Tree,
yes, sir. McDonald's, the Hardee's in that main intersection.
Right. So if you would go that way, right?
Right. If you wanted to go back into the city on Fairview, you would go back towards all that.
Gotcha. Okay. So, folks, if you know anything about this, there is a reward we're offering right now up to $15,000 still, Sandra? We're offering up to $15,000. So, if you know about this, if your cousin did it or whatever, you give a call to this number on the screen, and you tell them what you know. We have a system in place where we track information by some code numbers and this and that. So
right.
So we don't know who the tipster is. The law enforcement don't know who the tipster is. The important thing is to get the information
right.
and build the case from there. But then these folks, as soon as there is an arrest made in the case, these folks can get a payout within a few days.
Oh, wow.
So it's not like, we debated when we created this whole thing, we debated whether it was going to be conviction. A lot of rewards are upon conviction.
Yes, sir.
The problem with that is, a court trial can drag out 2 or 3 years.
Yes.
So we modeled this after some Crime Stoppers and other organizations, and they offer the reward upon arrest. So if someone knows about this, they were in the area, saw something, or they know who did this or whatever, they give a call.
Or if they live in the area and they have surveillance cameras outside their home,
there you go.
contact the sheriff's office or this hotline number to.
Wow, that would be a definite winner right there.
Yes, sir.
Wouldn't it? Is that happening more and more? Is there more and more people with private cameras that can?
Yes.
that
The
can
Ring
help.
doorbell
Right.
is very helpful because that can capture traffic driving down the road.
Right. Okay. So they don't. I mean, even at this time, say the time again.
It happened around 9:55 to 10:05. It's about a 10-minute window. We can determine
So
that.
if they're on this, so if they live on these on Cokie or Fairview, right around in there, they don't necessarily have to have captured the crime.
They
If
could've
you got a
captured
car driving
vehicles.
by, right? If you got a car driving by, you
somebody's
can look at
following
that
it.
and go from there and give you
Right.
something.
Yes, sir.
You know, I think they did. Nash County had a case. It kind of confused some folks because the murder, this murder, they tried to burn a body. This was last month. They tried to burn a body out in the field.
Right.
But the video that they were given was like from Castelia. And some people were like, how does, what does that have? But what it was video of it was stills of the cars that had left that area and drove right past, probably like you're saying, a private security camera.
Right.
So, folks, if you live on that road, you want to make some money. That's a good way to do it.
Definitely, if you got videos or Ring doorbells or anything like that, give us a call.
Yeah, okay. So then you wanted to touch on what is that? Did you see that?
Yes, sir.
Let me see. Phone call. Oh, the general is on. How do I answer this, Sandra?
The button at the bottom.
Hands-free?
Yeah.
General Bray.
Hey, good morning, Leno Purple. Welcome back, and I'm glad you got one of our fine deputies on the line this morning.
Absolutely. They've installed. Is that thing down there new? See, General, they got a new thing. Went off like a blue light, didn't it?
Yes, sir.
So now I can see when people call.
You can see when it flashes. That's good.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I wanted to do two things because this case of January of June. It's starting to show kind of the highlight of what's happening because, and just make a quick statement to remind folks, right now with this pandemic going on, the crime and murder across the country in North Carolina is on the rise. And a lot of people are turning to police for support, but the reality is right now, because of what's going on, citizens have really got to start to show their citizenship. We've got to really start seeing something and saying something so that police can police and not try to prevent, because that's not their business. And all the citizens, when something happened, honest to goodness, we've got to make criminals really feel uncomfortable, because with jobs being lost, with everything else going on, crime is on the rise, and more important than just crime, death, murder is on the rise. And while you've got the deputy on there, he really needs to talk to that and let folks know, we're doing cold cases, but unfortunately, we're getting a whole lot of hot nows, and people need to step up and start talking, because the crime in Wilson, Raleigh, this whole corridor is up, and it's up across the country, and it's up in other places, and citizens have got to step up, because we can't let criminals think it's okay because it's a pandemic. And that case of a early evening, 9 to 10 is not late at night. People are up and about, and we even got one murder recently in daytime. Somebody has to see something. So, while you got them on the line, if you don't mind letting them go ahead and address that, that would really be great.
I will certainly ask them that, General, and I appreciate it. And it's good to hear from you. I ain't talked to you in a few weeks. You're doing all right?
Yeah, I know you did. I was glad to talk to you this morning as well. It's good to see you. You look spry. You look like you came to fight this morning. I like it.
Are you listening to this on the radio or watching it on TV?
I'm streaming it. Absolutely.
All right, General. I appreciate it. I will ask, and I was going to mention something about that in the third segment, but since you brought it up, I'm going to go ahead and say it and let the deputy react to it.
Let everybody know, it's not just Rocky Mount. It's literally crime and murder is up across. there are 2 or 3 murders in Durham and Cumberland and Cumberland County, but Fayetteville daily, and it's absolutely crazy what's going on.
Right. Absolutely.
All right, man. Do your thing.
Thank you, General.
All right, buddy.
Did I hang it up? I don't hang it up.
Release.
Ah, well, see, somebody knows how to. Oh, well, you know what? We're going to get you to stick around if
Yes,
that's
sir.
all right.
Yes,
Because
sir.
I wanted to. He brought up a very good point that I was going to talk about, and we will get to that in the next segment. We got to show some commercials and pay these bills
All
right
right.
here, and we'll be back.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
y'all.
If you recently lost your job and your health coverage due to the COVID-19 pandemic, and you think you may be eligible for Medicare, you probably have more questions than answers right now. Statewide Insurers Group, All Things Medicare, can help you with that. We can provide the guidance and the answers that you need to get the benefits you may be eligible for. Don't let this time of uncertainty jeopardize your eligibility for your Medicare benefits. Remember, relationships matter. Call Statewide Insurers Group today for the answers that you need now. 316-8166.
Being prepared and trained is the best way to keep your family safe. The best way to be prepared is to learn from those who've spent a lifetime protecting us. Barnes Safety and Consulting LLC offers concealed carry classes with instructors who are law enforcement officers active and retired with more than 100 years of law enforcement experience. Monthly classes are taught year-round with private classes and special group rates available. Classes are $75 and held in the Bailey area. Call or text 1-800-653-0643. Get your concealed carry permit and avoid becoming a victim.
Fred, did you say 40 below zero?
40 below zero.
Holy smokes, man. That is, I've been all over the world. I don't think I've ever been in 40 below zero. That's, whew, man, what do you even do? I bet there's no crime in that place. But you don't even get outside. All right, so the general brought up a good point that I wanted to get with you on. And so, I think in the last year, America's kind of woke up to the fact that there's good cops and bad cops.
Yes,
where there's always, there are people, right? There's good people and bad people. You know
Yes,
what I mean?
sir.
But the thing that like, okay, so they had the Nash deputies that were involved in the shootout last week.
Yes, sir.
One thing that I really liked about that whole situation is that you didn't see any kind of crybabies coming out and saying, why'd they shoot this guy or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, you didn't, because they pull him over. He's a convicted felon with numerous convictions, violent offenses. Then he pulls a gun on him and shoots one of them.
Right.
And then, so he shoots Deputy Tony, who lives about 2 blocks from me in Spring Hope, right?
Okay.
So then Deputy Shelby shoots him, and I guess he's still in the hospital or whatever. I wouldn't have cared. Should have killed him. So then, there was nobody saying, oh, they shouldn't have done this or that. I mean, the guy pulled a gun on him.
Right.
She pulls him over for speeding. The guy pulls a gun on him, tries to kill him, right? Or tries to kill him, right? So it goes back to what the general was talking about. I'm surprised he didn't use his favorite term as rule of law. But he's really good at pointing out that the rule of law is not on law enforcement, it's on the citizenry, right? I mean, the citizens have to play along
Yes.
with this, right? You can't do this job on your own. You can't do it in a vacuum without help. And that's kind of like what we're trying to facilitate with this show and with the reward system and with the group that we've established. All of it is all about providing y'all with information so that you can do your job.
Right.
And there has been what was that whole? It started years ago. The don't snitch or what?
Yes,
that
sir.
whole thing like that. I mean, just really counterproductive. Not to law enforcement, but just counterproductive to just good living, right? You know, I mean, if there's a crime in your neighborhood and you don't tell about it, then you're just asking for more crime in your neighborhood.
Keep coming in.
Yeah, right. And so, I mean, that's what I was saying mainly, is that we're here to provide y'all with information, especially in these older cases.
Yes.
Right. And I'm going to talk, Sandra, I got something really important I'm going to introduce next week. We're going to talk about it next week. But in these older cases, law enforcement cannot do its job regardless of what some of them think. Law enforcement cannot do its job without publicity in these older cases. You know what I'm saying? I mean, because if you've got, we were talking about this, you know, if you find a skeleton in the woods, you know what I mean? I mean,
Right.
there's some avenue of investigation, but there's not a lot.
Right.
And without telling people, hey, we found a skeleton in the woods, do y'all know who it is? You know what I'm saying? So this goes back to, I know I've talked a lot, and I apologize about that. I want to build up to the big question here. So we're getting to the big question. Y'all had a double homicide last year. When was that?
It was June 20th of 2020.
Right. And there were a lot of people there.
That was probably 15, 20.
Okay, so, I mean, I'm going to ask you to tell us a little bit about that, but then, you know, kind of, I mean, what do you do without the public? I mean, the public has to help, right?
Yes.
I mean, the public has to carry its weight, like the general was saying. I mean, you can't solve crimes unless the public helps.
Right. I tell people all the time, I'm not there. I didn't see it happen. My other officers didn't see it happen. We don't know what happens unless you tell us what happens. You know, like you're talking about, you get to a scene and it's just a skeleton in the ground. How am I supposed to even begin to talk to somebody?
Right.
You got to figure out who it is. It's the same thing on a crime scene where there's several people around. You know, I walk up to you and say, what happened? Well, I didn't see anything. Well, you know, you're there. You saw something. Even if you didn't see the shooter, you saw what may have led up to it. You saw all that information. So when you see it, you got to tell us. If you don't tell us, we're not going to know. And if that was your family member laying on the ground, you would want me to do everything I was possible, and you would want that person that saw it to tell about it.
Right.
And that's the issue. When these people don't want to talk, they don't think about if that was their brother, their sister, their mother, their father. Because if it was one of their relatives, they would be all over it.
Mm-hmm.
So
I mean, that is, you know, I mean, that's, to me, that's the epidemic that's happening right now,
Right.
is that people just aren't talking to law enforcement. We got this phone call. Oh, boy. Welcome to the K-Files.
Yes, sir. How about the girl that was in the car with Mr. Lynch? What you know about it, dude? I mean, I hate to generalize, but honestly, it's even a case of jealousy or drugs. But you can laugh all you want to. But anyway, what did the girl say about it? Or is she cooperating?
No, I was smiling because I agree with you. I think it's a fantastic question.
she is cooperating with us at this time, and it is an open investigation, so we can't give out the details of what she's saying. But she is very cooperative with us at this time.
He hung up. He got his point across and hung up. I like that. But I mean, he does bring up a good point that that most people are killed by somebody that they know. I mean,
Right.
you know, we do have drug situations and gang situations, and then we have the rare stranger murder. You know, I mean, usually that's usually women. You know, women who are killed by strange men or whatever.
Right.
But for the most part, I mean, by and large, people are killed by somebody
They know.
that they know.
Yes,
and
sir.
I'm sure, I mean, y'all are all over that. There's no doubt about it. I mean, but I mean, also, I mean, that goes back to if people are killed by someone they know, then somebody knows who killed them too. You know, I
Right.
mean, so people in Rocky Mount, what we're looking at in Rocky Mount's a city with 70 some odd unsolved murders. You know,
Wow, I didn't know it was that
yeah,
many.
it's a lot, and I think a lot of that blame falls on the citizens of Rocky
not
Mount
talking.
for not talking. I mean, there's a lot of cases I mean, I've worked. I mean, I've been here 6 years. I worked for the Telegram. I work for the Enterprise now and the Wilson Times. I mean, I've covered a lot of murder cases since I've been here, and I've written about a lot of ones that were way before my time. And a lot of these cases are just law enforcement has evidence, they have information, but they don't have that piece that they need.
Right.
And a lot of times that's the public cooperation. So I mean, I didn't mean to turn this into a lecture for folks, but I mean, they need to hear it. I mean, people need to begin to tell what they know, and we're here. Not only are we saying do the right thing, we're also offering up to $15,000 to do the right thing. I mean, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money to me. $15,000.
It's a lot to me.
There you go. Y'all need a raise, by the way.
Well, thank you.
I was talking to the sheriff not long ago, and he always trying to get y'all a raise, but it don't always. I don't mean to put y'all on the spot. Remember what I told you when we went on the air? I said the longer we go, the more I'm going to get you in trouble. So, but no, I mean, y'all do a great job, and law enforcement isn't perfect. Nobody's perfect.
No, sir.
But we have to help. We, as everyday citizens, we have to help. You have to call. You have to say what you know, or it
doesn't help.
Yeah, it doesn't get y'all anywhere. So you've got just to go over it really quickly again for folks. Today we talked about the Stephen, is it McRae?
McGray.
There's a G in there.
Mac.
Yeah, that's right. Mac Gray. I think I'll get it right from now on. Stephen McGray. Last January he disappeared.
Yes, sir. January 5th.
And I know y'all developed. You're working on that one.
Very hard.
And then that's another case where somebody may have seen him walking down the road or whatever. I mean, people need to tell what they know. They think that it might be insignificant, but nothing's really insignificant.
Nothing is insignificant.
So then the case we talked about today, Mr. Lynch.
Yes.
When was that again? That was
January 11th of 2021.
So
that was less than a month ago.
Yeah. Okay. So he was driving down the road and got shot. So people need to talk about that one. And then what's the victims' names in the double homicide?
Devontae Burton and Montrell Wilson.
Right.
And that was in the city limits, on the outskirts of the city of Pine Tops.
Yes, and we've talked about that case on the show a few times. I think Lieutenant Muse was here one time.
Yes, sir.
And then we've talked about it a couple times since then. And folks who know that, I mean, that's a lot of, I mean, something like that doesn't happen without somebody knowing what happened.
Right.
So folks could call the number, put my eyeballs on, 252-406-6736, and call that number, and all we want is the information. We don't want your identity, all of that stuff. Whenever Lieutenant Seifman's here, that they talk about text to tip, and that stuff is stored on a overseas server, so court they couldn't even get it if they subpoenaed it, right? So all that, so it's all anonymous, folks. We're not looking for who you are. We're looking for that information, so the information can be passed to you, and then you can use that information to develop a case that'll stand up in court.
Right.
So I mean, that's you do a lot of other stuff besides homicides.
Yes,
right?
sir.
So I'm sure that you've worked off tips, right?
All the time.
So you take an anonymous tip and you go out and you
work it.
Right, and you come up with something.
Yes, sir.
So, but you got to start. You got to have something to start.
Have that tip to start.
Right. So I mean, that's what this is all about, and I hope to have you back.
Yes, sir.
I hope that we don't have to talk about new cases,
right.
But it would be good to have you back and flesh some of these out. And then, earlier we were talking about you handle sex offenders too,
yes, sir.
right? Now that is a subject that, I mean, this show was created for cold case homicides, really. I wanted to focus on, because it's not a Crime Stopper show. We're not looking for people who knocked over the liquor store, right? I mean, I wanted to focus on unsolved murders, missing people, and unidentified bodies. But I've found through going through all of this, and the general mentioned it earlier, we would be remiss if we ignored the crimes that are happening now. We have this platform,
Right.
you know, for you to call, or Lieutenant Muse called and said, hey, you know, Sergeant Tinder come on the show and talk about, if for me to say no because that murder, you know, that happened in January, so it's not old enough yet.
Right.
I mean, that's ridiculous, right? So if we have an opportunity to publicize a crime, I think we should do it.
Yes, sir.
So I'd like to get you back on here and talk about some of these other things.
Yes, sir.
'Cause-
Anytime.
'cause absolutely. Well, you've done a good job. I somehow have made it 2 segments on my own without stumbling over my own feet. If you want to see something, if you want to punish yourself, go back and watch an episode I did in December by myself. And oh my goodness, I can't even, it's bad. I mean, it's bad. So, folks, we have learned today from Hope Connie about 1st and 2nd degree murder. So if you're planning on murder, you're going to be in trouble. If you're planning on it, that's 1st degree murder.
Yes, sir.
Sergeant Tinder has been, do you use your initial or your first name when you talk to folks in the public?
It just depends.
It just, well, it depends. Yeah, that's sometimes I answer my phone, sometimes I don't. He has been gracious enough to put up with my meanderings and talk about these 3 cases, and hopefully we can help. You know,
Hopefully it'll generate some leads.
Absolutely, that's
If you know
what we're here
something,
for.
say something, call us.
Thank you. Folks, we appreciate it. We will be back next week. I do have a special announcement. I got a special project I've been working on for years. I'm gonna roll it out next week. And this is something that's gonna encompass the entire state, and it's gonna involve print, the web, the internet, and this television show. So I'm gonna try something big. So I appreciate you being on the show,
Yes, sir.
Sergeant, and we will see y'all next week if we're here. Thank you.
If you recently lost your job and your health coverage due to the COVID-19 pandemic, and you think you may be eligible for Medicare, you probably have more questions than answers right now. Statewide Insurers Group, All Things Medicare, can help you with that. We can provide the guidance and the answers that you need to get the benefits you may be eligible for. Don't let this time of uncertainty jeopardize your eligibility for your Medicare benefits. Remember, relationships matter. Call Statewide Insurers Group today for the answers that you need now. 316-8166.
Being prepared and trained is the best way to keep your family safe. The best way to be prepared is to learn from those who've spent a lifetime protecting us. Barnes Safety and Consulting LLC offers concealed carry classes with instructors who are law enforcement officers active and retired with more than 100 years of law enforcement experience. Monthly classes are taught year-round with private classes and special group rates available. Classes are $75 and held in the Bailey area. Call or text 1-800-653-0643. Get your concealed carry permit and avoid becoming a victim.